Welcome back to a brand new video, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about Excel. Whether you have to use Excel for a new job, whether you're learning it in school, hopefully this video gives you some tips and tricks to make your first spreadsheet, as well as how to visualize and interpret that data and display it in a fashion that correctly analyzes that data. Excel is a spreadsheet application provided by Microsoft, used for storing, analyzing, and manipulating data. You can get it through Microsoft 365, and before you go spending a bunch of money, if you're a student like I am, look into what your school provides in terms of Microsoft 365. My school actually provides the software for free, which I'm very grateful for. So don't go pay for that subscription fee yet. Anyways, let's jump right into Excel. So when you start up Excel, you're greeted with this screen right here. We're gonna start with going over to the new tab and creating a blank workbook. You could select from one of the templates, but I'm gonna show you how to build from scratch. The data that I'm going to be using for this spreadsheet is about social media sites. It's only gonna be 3 columns, very simple, and please do not take this data seriously. I looked it up a couple days ago, and some columns such as the worth are probably fluctuating, so just take it at face value, and this is for educational purposes only. When you open up Excel, the best thing to do is just to get familiar with all the different windows and different functions that you can utilize. We're going to start by creating a table, formatting it so that the table looks good, and then we're going to make some graphs to accurately display our data and draw some conclusions, because that's what data science is all about. Making these types of spreadsheets isn't usually just for storing the data, but also to analyze the data in a statistical fashion so that companies can predict future outcomes about their businesses, what's going right, what's going wrong, etc. To start off your table, the first thing you want to do is you want to label your columns. Label the things that change each piece of data from the next. Our first column is going to be the media name. Second column is going to be the users, and this is in billions. And the last one is going to be worth, and this is going to be in billions as well. And also, since there are many different currencies out there, it might be worth noting it is in USD. If you look at our columns right now, you might notice that worth is already bleeding into the D column. To make sure our table looks nice and to make sure that every column has enough space, one easy thing that you can do is put your cursor in between the 2 columns where the column is bleeding over. So I'd put it in between C and D, and I just simply double click and it auto stretches to fit the contents of that column. Let's start filling in data for our column. To go to the next row, you can hit enter, and to go to the next column, you can hit tab. So after doing TikTok, I will do tab to go to users, type 168. The worth, we have it at 75 billion. Now here is our data, and as you can tell already, the formatting is not looking the best. And that's because our decimal placements on our numbers are not aligning. To select an entire column in Excel, you can select any element in the column and hit Control Space. This will select the entire column. After we selected this column of users, we can go up to the number box up here, and this number box is all about formatting your numbers. If we want all of our numbers to have the same decimal placement, we can hit this comma style and it'll format it nicely. All the numbers are now uniform in terms of their decimal placements. We can do the same thing in worth, and that already looks much better. Let's say we're making a spreadsheet that has iterations and we want to number each of our elements. That should go at the beginning of our columns. So to insert a new column before A, we could just go to A, right click on A, and go to insert. We're gonna insert IDs for each of them, iterating one at a time. And the way that this works is we need to give Excel a pattern to follow. If we were doing maybe just even numbers, we could do 2 and 4 and drag, but we're just doing 1, 2, 3, and so on. So first I'll do 1 and 2 in the boxes here. I'll select both of the boxes to give Excel the pattern, and we're going to go to the bottom right of the box, and this is the auto-increment tool in Excel, and we will drag down. Boom. This is very helpful if you have a lot of elements in your spreadsheet and you want to autofill some data for the entire spreadsheet. So now we have all of our stuff numbered. I'm going to put all the words in the middle of the column just to make it look a little bit nicer. Now, one thing that makes it easier to differentiate your rows from your columns is to create a table. And to do this, we can just select our table. We can go to this format as table button right here, click it, and there's a bunch of different options for formatting the table. If you want a different one, you can just like look at them. And I like this one because it has the black bar on the top and the bottom to really emphasize what our data is. So I'll click that one. I like that. It looks good. Now we have a bunch of data and we want to see how it relates to each other. What we can do again is we could select our table. If you want to select your entire table, you can just do Control A. It auto detects your table. And we could go to this conditional formatting button. Now this has a bunch of different scales, color scales, as well as data bars to display your data in a meaningful way relative to the other data. We want a color scale that shows more users is a good thing and more worth is a good thing. So like the green. I like this color scale, but the problem with it is that it's all relative to the highest number in the entire data set, which is 766. To get the best relative data, what we actually want to do is select column by column. Sorry if I tricked you there by saying select the entire table. So we'll select the column for users, go to conditional formatting, and now we see that green is relative to the highest number, which is 3 billion users. We'll do this for worth as well. And we don't really need conditional formatting for the name and the ID because those are simply for identifying the data. So number 1, TikTok is in the yellow. TikTok's in the yellow. Facebook is in the green. Instagram's doing okay. Twitter and Pinterest, relative to the other platforms, could be doing a little bit better. Now let's show this data in a very meaningful way. If you want to give a presentation on this data, you're gonna want a big picture for everyone to see and be able to say, okay, Facebook's definitely doing well compared to these other companies, and how much. Because yes, we have yellow and light greens and stuff like that, but if you want really meaningful data, it's best to put it on a graph. With our table selected, we can go to insert, and charts is going to be your best friend for this. It will have different types of graphs that you can easily preview just by looking through, and it will show you meaningful data. I want something that shows our users and worth on relative scales. User scale is much smaller than the worth scale, with users highest number being 3 and worth being 766, but I want to put them on even playing fields. So let's find a graph that does that. This graph right here shows pretty well all of our data compacted into one graph. We have 2 different series, which our series are basically just our different columns. Series 1 looks like it is our users, and series 2 looks like it's our worth. So I'm going to use this graph, give this chart a meaningful name. We will call it top social media platforms. And then if we want to change the series names to give an accurate representation of what data we're looking at, we can right click on it, go to select data, and you can edit on the left hand side. You can also choose which data it is showing, so we can like maybe not show Instagram, stuff like that, but I want to show all the data in this case. We're going to go to edit, and series name, we'll change this to users in billions. And we'll do that for series 2 as well. This is going to be worth in USD billions. So now we have our graph. You can put it anywhere you like on your spreadsheet. If you want to save the graph to put into a PowerPoint or etc., you can right click the graph and go to save as picture. And this will save it as a PNG, or you can do the drop down and save it as a JPEG. So the conclusion that we can draw from this graph is that Facebook obviously has more users and more worth than TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Another thing that you can note is that TikTok has a lot of users for how much it's worth, and while Twitter and Pinterest both have the same amount of users, Pinterest is doing much better on that front of being worth more. I'm not quite sure how accurate this data is because it really surprises me that Pinterest is worth more than Twitter. Please do not use this data in a statistical essay because I do not know how. This was just a couple quick Google searches and purely for this video. But there you have it. This is how to make a table and some graphical representations of your data in Excel. This is a very general and basic tutorial. I literally just found out that I have Excel through school, so I thought I would give it a try, especially since I need it for my statistics class this semester. And I know a lot of my friends and colleagues have trouble with this application, but it's not too daunting once you take the first steps to learn it. There are many other things to learn, such as functions, stylizing options, and etc., but we will be tackling that in a future video. I hope this gave you some insight on how to traverse the Excel spreadsheet, how to easily input your data and format in a way that accurately represents it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day.